I know nothing.
I remember him
Well, we only make different things. All right.
Can I borrow your list?
Absolutely.
Okay, so. So these are just a few pictures that we snapped on the field trip. Can we turn the light? Oh, it's too dark. They, so you can see there's not much water whenever we went. But they get better here. So you can see the track there, and then all along there.
You didn't have to wear a white shirt, and I wore long sleeves because I didn't want to burn up. And so, anyway. And those just look like holes in the riverbed, and they're not. That's some kind of, what is that?
Impressions?
No, what is that? You have the track there. Remember what dinosaur that is?
It is. It's a Pleurocoelus dinosaur. A long neck, a member of the long neck family.
There's a bed of coal right there. That's why she took the picture.
I would suggest that if when you take this same picture, you're going to point it out to your students.
Well, I didn't mean, I turned around and
Well,
she
yeah,
Stop.
and that's the thing is like, and these, I mean, we could, add arrows and things like that, like, rather than him pointing also. But yes, tomorrow or Thursday when you go,
Well, think about how you can use these same kind of pictures to teach with.
So could they get a Dollar Tree buy one of those dry erase boards and just hold it this way?
Well, I'm not just point to the whole layer if it were made for some kind of simple minded. So,
yeah.
Patty, where are you?
I'm here.
You want to comment on it?
Am I going too fast or?
We will not be allowed to collect. We will gather up examples of all kinds of wonderful fossil evidence, and I'll tell you about all I know about them. And but these people have graciously continued through several years now to allow us to come there. And but their request is that we not collect. So.
Being that these are the actual tracks, are they like some kind of landmark or like historical?
No, they're the tracks. If you look, if you could go, well, I don't know. You're going to see in a minute, but I always wonder, how do people say that that's a dinosaur track? You can see the trail they make. I mean, if you go look from a distance, if you get right on top, it just looks like a hole in the rock, a depression.
I can go back
but,
to.
I'm just saying, like, how can the government?
Right there, you see how you can see how it goes, and so you have to look from the seat. That's how you know that walk that way. You can see the depression of tails, and see, you can just see how it goes right down the line there.
There are literally hundreds there.
And I wasn't picking up and collecting that rock. I was just looking at it. We really didn't collect anything there. They're trying to get the stride length of the. And that's one of that gave me an idea for the lab that we have on that.
I know we chose a young, very agile young man.
It's tall too. What do you mean?
I would have been laying prone on the
And did you notice his hands?
He's trying to like.
Yeah, because the Pleurocoelus walk, you will notice when you're there that the front footprint is moon-shaped. It is like a horseshoe almost. But if you really look at some of the well-preserved ones, you actually see the claw marks back up underneath because they had a pad on their knuckles and they walked on those knuckles. And so the claw marks then are up underneath the bank of mud that they pushed back when they crawled. So he's modeling for you there that he's walking on his knuckles. I'm not sure what that is. What is that?
I just thought it was pretty. Is that whenever we went to go look at the, the cabinet stuff?
Yeah,
Oh,
It's-
okay.
Are you going there again?
We are going to Masterson's, and they will see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of slabs from all over the world.
So that's, we took a picture.
And
of
if you go there, they make mistakes and it breaks and all that, and if you're real nice, if you ask them, can I have a piece? And I got a lot of pieces, and my students love to see that, because it shows what it looks like polished. And some of them, we live in a poor place, but some of them actually have granite countertops, you know, but. That's that mountain, what was it?
Yes, this is the LBJ overlook, right, the LBJ lake is right below us there.
So handkerchief hats, you know, like.
The French legionnaires had it right, you know. That's the, are you going to that mine again?
We're not stopping there, we will drive by it, but they are quarrying. Do you see the drill stem marks? And they drill and load it with dynamite, and so there are dynamite explosions that go off routinely in this area. They are shipping this stuff by the massive flat car train cars to Port A, you know where the jetties are down there? And so it's on both sides of the concrete walkway that is very definitely taken some beating over time. And then they have extended that walkway with just granite blocks from the Texas Granite Quarry. That's what this place is.
To stabilize the shoreline issue,
Right.
but it only is temporary.
And it also protects that intercoastal canal because it diverts the sediments from depositing quite so fast to those major shipping lanes.
And that's the, if you look at, you can see a shadow, that's the hammer you're using, I'm hammering rock. So,
This is at the Lanite Dike.
and it's very hard, very hard.
This is at LBJ Overlook. And so can you see the greenish kind of color in the rock at the bottom? And do you see the white lenses? They're shaped like the lens of your eye. These little spots in here like this, like there. That mineral that's green is called glauconite, and you can collect the sample as a mineral sample. It is a sandstone, so you could also have a piece that you included as sandstone. But these were little bitty pools in a shallow sea, and trilobites were molting apparently. We see a lot of trilobite hash when you look at this material that's kind of crystalline-like, and we see pieces of trilobites. I've never found a complete trilobite in it, but we certainly find identifiable pieces. So it's quite an unusual rock, and then you're going to come on up and you will have a diagram, a schematic of all of these layers. Beautiful faults in all of this for you to interpret and use your relative dating vocabulary.
And
But
take pictures of.
and take pictures of. There is a layer of limestone, so you'll be wanting to find some of that reddish brown stuff and testing it with acid to be sure that you're finding the limestone. And then from up on top there is some shale, and so you might find several different pieces. This is the place where there are no hammers allowed. And when we get out of our vans on the other side of the road, I want you to be sure you see the ripple stones. Did y'all get a picture of the ripple stones? These, I don't know if you've traveled from here to Austin back roads. We used to have the most absolute wonderful places along the roadside, legal for us to collect at. They are solid concrete now. I'm talking solid concrete out where you used to live. There's not a road cut left where we can easily find an abundance of fossils because they are now concreting them in. So these people are very, it's like visiting Mount Bonnell You go to Mount Bunnell and drag out a rock hammer, you're gonna be hit by any number of people who live in and around. They are protecting their their resource, and they don't want you out there hacking on it, causing this thing to collapse. They don't want it covered up. They, you know, it's a wonderful place to understand so much geology. And so the townspeople are very protective of it, and they will stop and tell you, you are not supposed to be hammering on that wall. And they've never sent the police out to us here, but I have on your road log in great big letters, no rock hammers out of the bands at this point, because I know what we're asking for if they see one. Okay?
Okay, Patty's husband made a mold of this Acanthosaurus track, and it's the fossil that was found in the.
He's showing it to you.
Right here, this is it looks like this, but we got the mold from the inside. And, wasn't this the one by the Red River where the kid skipped school and?
Yeah, it's from Glen Rose, Texas, the Dinosaur State Park, Dinosaur Valley State Park, yes.
And, so anyway, Sherry and I on the way home, they gave us the track. And what are we gonna do with that track? So we started talking about it. I said, why don't we talk to our principal and see if he'll let us put, tracks out here in this green space, and we can find out what the stride length of that dinosaur is, and then we could use that to calculate how fast the dinosaur was moving and how big it was and all that, just from the stride length, which that's what the scientists do. And so anyway, that's one of the deals there. We had kids out there, we're mixing cement, pouring the mold for it and all that. And so, and there's one of them right there.
That's just picturing one right now, but we have 4 or 5.
4 of them that, so you can see where walk.
And they can just mow right over them, because we, the kids are, you know, he and I are my own children or his granddaughter, you know, we dug it to where it could, you know, it's even with the level of the ground.
That's a great tip, because you do have to consider.
Right, because, you know,
custodial services.
exactly, to where if they couldn't mow right over them, we'd, you know, probably get fussed at. So, and then from there, we took this picture and put it in the newspaper and wrote a little description about what was happening at DMS. And these are kids that are usually not featured in the newspaper. And we
For other things, but not.
Other than in the big blue rectangular picture.
They loved it, they were great.
There's a whole lesson in just having the mixed concrete that would certainly be accurate.
And they were totally willing to do it, and we were glad to have their help because it was.
Are you gonna
It's
make
hard work.
more? Are you gonna have more? Okay,
Yes.
never mind, I won't.
Not only are they already did.
Anyway, so in front of you, you have 2 lesson plans. 2 lesson plans. One of them talks about the dinosaur stride length, and
There's a lot of math involved in it.
it's kind of lengthy, and you know, we tweak these as we, you know, as we do them, and you know, change them up and what works, what doesn't work. And then a lot of times, we would do different things to where, do you want us to get into the planning and all that right now? Or? Sure. Okay, when we used to have bulk math classes, like Dr. West already talked about, it was a lot easier, because I had the time in math to do more. So since then, what we've done is a lot of the labs and stuff that he does in science class, he takes it and we do the math, the calculating, and the graphing in the math classroom. He does a lot with like little foldables, like where you're just taking a paper, and we have some examples of that with some other lessons. But fold it in half, and either I would create something similar in the math classroom, or he would, you know, start a lab in science on a Monday, have the kids, you know, write. Most of them, you know, would have me for math. If not, you know, one class would have another teacher. Write who they have in math class and what period, to where they're stacked up. To where I would take the same lab into the math classroom, you know, 2 days later, and then do the calculation or do the graphing and things like that. So here with the dinosaur stride length, you wanna talk about this? Well, do you want us to project it over there, or y'all can just look at it?
Can I ask you a
But
question?
they can see it, yeah.
You're saying when you said the foldable, you said you had one section for science, one section in that same foldable?
Not usually she would create her own.
Right,
Oh,
we
okay.
have a density one that both the science part and the math
Yeah.
part is together. Alright, I mean, it's separate, two different little foldables. The ones that we did it together, like he would do it on Monday, where that same paper would come to me, but it'd have to be, you know, a day or two later. Just because they may have math class before they, you know, have science or, you know.
The better one, well, that's fun, but the density one, the kids enjoyed that more because we were lucky and we got a grant from one of the local chemical outfits nearby, and they gave us extra money, which I never had before, so I bought
Pretty good
stuff.
chunk of change
Yeah,
though.
about $14,000.
Wow.
And so, anyway, I took our regular budget money and I went, if you go to Carnegie, they have scale models of mammals and dinosaurs and all that. So I got the Acanthosaurus
And that's
model.
the next lesson, y'all can
And
look at
that's
that.
the other one, but anyway, from there they can figure out density, because animals float and they basically have the same density. And so by using and these are to scale, so the models float, but anyway, by using the model, they can figure out how heavy that dinosaur was based on the scale factor, which in math, that's what they use, and so she would take the scale factor part of it and find out exactly how heavy that dinosaur was. And we had some results that were right on what the scientists say that they should have weighed. And of course, there's some that weren't that close, but the thing is, they understood the process that they used for that. And
Plus, they got to play these little miniature, like
yeah,
little
they like
dinosaurs
the
that are like very cool.
dinosaurs, too.
That were,
and I got them on sale too. Sometimes they'll have a sale, and they want to get rid of all these Acanthosaurus.
we should have brought some, because they're like really
But
cool.
this is a sidelight. The Acanthosaurus, the actual skeleton, ended up in South Dakota or North Dakota somewhere, not in Texas where it was discovered. But a couple of years ago, I was driving outside Manitou Springs to go to Cripple Creek, and I don't know, Cripple Creek, there's a casino there, and wherever I go, my wife has to have a casino. So I got her to go to Colorado, and there was Cripple Creek. On the way back, we're driving, and it was a dinosaur museum. I go in there, and it's one of these guys that he built his dinosaur museum. Outside, there was an Acanthosaurus skeleton, Acanthosaurus replica, and inside they had stride lengths of different dinosaurs, and they had the Acanthosaurus, and I strided it out, and I got the strides exactly how it was amazing. But if you ever get there, it's between Manitou Springs and Cripple Creek. But this guy makes his living by selling dinosaur skeletons. Like he had a megalodon jaw, and I got to stand in it. I like the sci-fi station. So anyway, but they had all this stuff. So if you ever get there, I mean, it's a fascinating place, and he has stuff for sale. But we actually measured things correctly, which I was a little worried about it, but no one would be there to challenge me because I've been there longer than the dinosaurs. And so, but we got it right. And that brings another thing. Our assistant principal always says, in a few million years when this is all dust, and you got some guy coming out here and he starts digging up and finds these dinosaur tracks right here, what's he gonna think? Was there dinosaurs here when the human beings were? Going back to what we were talking about this morning.
Well, I think, of course, they're a perfect example of great collaboration. And this is why we ask them to come back, and y'all can see why we love them so. Sherry likes to come back because anytime they do any kind of training or go to conferences at all, she drags Bill to the mall shopping. He's the bodyguard.
No, new shoes.
Last night it was shopping and 99 cent margaritas at Grin, so. Monday through Thursday, happy hours from 2 to 10.
But the other,
I'm designated driver, so
well, I'll go to the second one in just a minute. I'll come back to you for this. I was talking to an auto mechanics teacher, and I don't know if I told you this story, but I said, you know, why can't the auto mechanics and the, I guess, calculus teacher and the physics teacher teach, and, you know, with these, the new emphasis on vocational, preparation for these kids, et cetera. And he made a really interesting comment. He says, well, you know, they actually have to like each other. And I started thinking about that, and I thought, well, they do. You know, it's nice when you do. Like Brandon and I have been working together for 6 years, you know, and I guess we haven't gotten a divorce because we like each other. But I think in schools, you're not gonna always like who you teach with, but as a professional, you appreciate what they do, and you know, we learn to work with them. But I think that the ability to teaming really has a lot to do with building that relationship that we talked about earlier.
So, well, and that, like, I'm on the same train there. Why did you end up not doing the double block math?
Budget.
Right here, $5.4 billion. I repeat, $5.4 billion.
So you lost a teaching spot, or they just redid the schedule, or you lost a teacher?
Lost, right?
Or moved them.
Moved this. I mean, we do have, we have lab classes, which some of the kids are in math lab for the ones that are not successful on STAR test. And
Oh, yeah.
that's another story, because
They have a big department, I mean, they have, and so they didn't, I don't think they lost a teacher, but what they did is they lost all that block, and so now they have math lab, and
so
they
some
divided
kids
them
do
up
get-
differently, and
So is it a district decision? Is it an administrative decision?
It's all over, Denise, it's everywhere.
That was
Jen and-
central office,
Jen and
so,
Zenaida are in a STEM academy, and next year they're undouble blocking. Is that how you would say it?
Okay.
They're going from two periods of math to just one period of math, and they are actually losing, faculty, positions. But it's one that doesn't tend to be a problem because the district's growing and they can move elsewhere. Lori Schlitting, who's supposed to be here, I don't know where she is, but she's supposed to be here. She's actually moving from the 6th grade up to high school to teach geometry because of these kind of decisions.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Which-
it's a money issue.
Yeah, so then, do you also have the flexibility with your principal? Like, can you, some days, pull the science and math kids at the same time and do double things?
Well, we have,
Team teach,
I taught 7th grade last year, and I'm not sure what I'm teaching this year. But we've had in the past, like, his classroom's here and his lab's right next door to where we've done several things, to where we're right next to each other, and that's nice. And then another thing is, he used to be like way down the hall from me, but then we had a new addition built to where his lab class is like right, kind of diagonal from mine, to where we collaborate in the hallway, you know, or, you know, kids not getting something in the class period, they're not getting this, you know, like a big eye opener was, he was doing something with balancing equation and using the word product. And, you know, looking at the vocabulary difference on what product means in math class versus science class, because he was like, oh my gosh, they keep getting 15, how are they getting 15? And finally a kid was like, sir, you know, product is, you know, when you multiply numbers or whatever, and
they
then he's,
multiplied the coefficients together.
right, so,
Makes
So
sense
just-
to me.
and it was easy, you know, to where it's like, you know, we've.
It was
because-
aha moment.
Right, I think he may have stepped
I
out
went running.
during class time and was like,
Yeah, I
Jerry!
did.
So, and that's made a difference.
I'll do that all the time, I'll run down there
Right,
to her and
it
say,
makes things.
hey, what about this, am I saying this right? What is it, reduced and simplified?
Simplify is correct.
Right, and then, another thing is, you know, when the 8th grade math test is over, you know, we help out in the math classroom, with science lessons and, either go do interactive activities in the computer lab or, you know, stuff that he provides, you know, math related inside our classroom. So, you know, we may not have time to do all of these like throughout the year, but then after testing, we bring some of it in. We also have a pride classroom to where, it's another way to, I guess, get intervention stuff in for RTI, and another way, I guess, to give teachers that additional prep, and and because it's but it's also another way to where yeah, we can bring in some of the math science connection to where that would be a perfect opportunity to, you know, put our classes together like we're talking about, or, you know, whoever's doing 8th grade, you know, math pride class and his science class, bring them together and do a bunch of different students.
But they have that flexibility because the principal has confidence in them. They have built their reputation so that he has confidence in letting them, giving them a loose rein, so to speak. And that's, that's what we have to do as teachers if we want to be able to be more independent, if you would, with our decisions. As long as you get good results, they're gonna be good.
Well, and this year, as far as STAR tests go, the results were not fantastic, and there's nothing that he and I could do any different really, because, we're at school a lot, we, make sure we're planning properly, and, so as far as losing sleep over the scores, it's just, I guess it is what it is, but,
Okay, do y'all have questions about their planning
Can
or
I
any
say,
of the
we've
lessons?
been lucky because our principals, we've had 3 principals since we started Mix It Up, and each one supported us in their own way. The first principal got us in here, and then she supported what we did, and then the second one is the one that let us use that little green space out there, and he encouraged us. And then you've met Mr. Murphy, and he's encouraging all the time when there's collaboration. The only problem is that when do we collaborate? We try to collaborate after school, but she'll have tutorials or I'll have something, and it makes it very difficult. But the thing is that if your leadership supports you, then you're going to be able to run.
Well, now, he's put in a planning half-day every 6 weeks in your schedule or something like that?
but it's not planned, it's, science has their days and math has their days, but yes, it's, right. So some of the other lessons that we have samples of, some are, simpler than what you see there. That one's, pretty complicated and lengthy of a read or whatever, but, some of the others are, with the little foldables and, are very user-friendly, so.
Questions?
No, I do, just because teaching and lesson planning and throwing this all together is a little for me. But this is just one particular activity that could have gone on for several days as a lesson. Is that right? So this isn't just, this is one day, and then tomorrow I'm gonna have this lesson.
Well,
plan,
it might be, it depends on how much I can get finished and then she'll take over with the calculation part of it.
Yeah, for the most part, they're planned to where they can, the science part can get done within one class period, and then the math as well.
Sometimes it might take 2.
Right.
But I could see Bill having to go back in and taking your data analysis and making the scientific inferences or
Right.
leading the kids for it.
So, for how long, the stride length lesson, how long is both y'all teaching, how many days is that? Don't think about
Because it took a while to do the, we had to teach the first part of it, so that they understood what they were doing and what it was based on, and then compare it with human beings and all that. So I would say, yeah, it's
I'm just curious.
several days.
Like a week?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that one, see, I wanted to do that during motion, when I study motion, because you study motion in algebra, right? Then you do, what do you use my motion technique. So anyway, we wanted to do it then, but it was too long, so we waited. We used to have what they call flex year. And during flex year, do it during then, because that gave us, we had like each class was 90 minutes long, and it was all the kids that had failed the STAR test and tax test before that. And so we had them in there, well, we would do that with them, and we could use 90-minute blocks, but the classes were only like 6 or 7 students large, and we could have them both together, and it was great. I mean, in fact, I had one math teacher in with me the whole time, and I would do the science, and then I would get all the stuff together, and then I said, okay, you do this part, and she would do that part, and I mean, we spent and I thought, it would be wonderful if science and math teachers could just teach together all the time, because they look at things with a different perspective than I would look at it, and explain a little bit differently, and it made more sense to me than how I explained.
There was a question about the lesson plan, for example, on the dinosaur stride length. There is a 6th grade science teach, and that's speed, and then an 8th grade math teach. So the question was, Bill, you are 8th grade.
Right, but it's a supporting team.
Right, it's a supporting
So
team.
it's STAR, and I
Right.
don't know how other 8th grade teachers do it, but I try to teach this, I try to reteach the supporting teach, because I heard a conversation today about math, and the math scores are bad because of this and that, but the way I look at it is that they're mine now, I gotta try to make sure they know it. And so I go back and do those supporting teach to make sure I'm bringing them along. Sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not.
So,
Right.
and this is,
And oftentimes, some kind of complex, I call it an activity because there's investigations within it and then other things in it, is complex and it will teach multiple teaks. But remember, if you're trying to teach, I'll say speed, that's your goal. Do they understand speed at the end of this, at the end of your lesson? And then something else that came up that I think I mentioned in the email, oftentimes when you're planning an inquiry lesson, you're gonna have direct instruction in the middle of it, and I know with my students that was kind of confusing for them, but I said, think about it, if this lesson is about microscopic organisms, they have to learn how to use a microscope. Well, if you're teaching them to use a microscope, you use direct instruction model. So, you know, you're making professional decisions that fit, and it's not this rule that's rigid. It is a guideline that says, if we use inquiry, students will understand concepts better.
I just applaud you, and I would encourage you to go in and find somebody that you can work with, that you enjoy working with, because it can start out so innocent, just a little thing where you come up with some idea, and you both take ownership, and you both work, and it just grows and flourishes, and you'll pull people in with you. Have you experienced that, are there other science and math people who want their children doing some of the neat things that you're doing? Or is it just,
He's amazing in his classroom, amazing. Yes, he is.
Well, they did
And the
have
kids will tell you
they
that
had
as well,
other teachers
where-
from their school who came in.
Right, and
oh,
we
So
had
they
a couple
did.
of teachers in the program, and then, they didn't work, they worked well together, but I don't know if they built the relationship that we did.
Well,
as far
sometimes
as
it was a
planning.
matter of them moving between grade levels. So, you know, if the principal's having to move them between grade levels, it's hard to establish that relationship and then move somewhere else, because it takes time to establish
Right.
relationships.
And some of the stuff, like, I had a couple of the 8th grade lab classes, and I worked with the math teacher that had some other 8th grade lab classes, and we'd bring some of the mixed up lessons and science and stuff into those classes, because if we can't hit the whole 8th grade, you know, we can hit these, you know, 30, 40 kids to where, you know, and it helped kind of relate the two subjects as well, to where I think that's helpful.
Well, it's like yesterday, you know, we love that writing segment. And so when we got done, Sherry and I are talking, going to the outlet mall about what we're gonna do, and then we ate, and she was having her margaritas, and that loosened her up a little bit. We talked more about the writing samples, and then, but I mean, we were having these conversations, which we probably wouldn't have had, you know, trying to see how we're gonna incorporate that into our class. And, I mean, that's the beginning. You start talking that way, and then we could start working together, and then, you know, we were talking about the timeline, how we're gonna do that, and then, you know, we say, well, you know, it's hard to, how am I gonna get the tapes for each kid to you? And then we started thinking, well, wait a minute, we could do 2 tapes. She could do a tape, I could do a tape. On my tape, I wanna be more concerned about the years, and the plant life and the animal life, and she's gonna be more concerned about the, dating.
And then adding the scientific notation.
Okay,
Right.
Denise has something to say, and then I want to end it because it's lunchtime.
Okay. As they're talking, they're modeling the relationships. And that, so the whole time we're doing Mix It Up, every time you collaborate, you team teach, you do all that kind of stuff, your kids learn about communication, about collaboration, about creativity, about the teamwork. You know, when we watch the Sandras tease each other, you know, and crack jokes and, you know, all that kind of stuff. That is an enormous, like, you cannot measure how important that is. That's why, and that's the foundation, you know, so if you can find a partner that you can do that with, your parents will even learn from you from that. It's just incredible how important it is, but how it's caught, it's not taught.
And that's what businesses are saying, that our graduates do not know how to do, is to work with teams, work with other people.
Do I have time for just one thing?
Sorry.
Have any of you ever teamed with a special ed teacher?
Oh, they're hilarious.
My absolute most enjoyable years, and I had the same team teacher, she was special ed for over 20 years. We were a team. I mean, she could walk in and I could say, these people didn't master, and she'd just go to my file cabinet and pull them out, and she'd reteach, and she'd redo something, and, you know, it was the most wonderful thing, and the kids loved that class.
Okay, and I'm gonna end this by saying, I invited Bill and Sherry to come yesterday morning. They came and spent the night in the dorms. Remember I told y'all how good it was to spend the night in the dorms with your partners initially? I can build that relationship, that's why, okay? I invited Bill and Sherry to come yesterday so they could also hear the writing ideas and look what they've done with it. And sometimes I would suggest to you, maybe your leadership, maybe principal or whatever, suggest that you go to this training or that training, and you're thinking, why, that's not something I can use, but then you go to it and you're.
Yeah, I mean, the whole time we were in the program, you know, we'd get in trouble for having conversation, but the whole time we were in the program, we're thinking, how are we gonna take what we're learning here today back into the classroom?
Right, and that's teacher talk, which is what we want you to do, but we don't want you disturbing other people with your teacher talk. Let's go to lunch. Well, wait a
I have
minute.
an announcement.
Announcement.
This computer is gonna be in the lounge, open to a document. If you'd put in your email that you wanna use with Dropbox, and that way we can send you out the invite today, so you can have that lesson planning document and like Patty's PowerPoints and the writing PowerPoint. So look for it upstairs and put in your email.
We didn't have any papers that have been signed and not been turned in.
Guys, y'all will be in the doors this afternoon, so only take what you need for math.
I'm gonna have to go back to the lodge.
No,
We
yours.
just need to get back to the Dr. West.
Laura, are you?
What are we doing?
Yes, and this is, she wants you to do it. I'll have to show her where to find it, but yes, okay.
She's gonna, not necessarily now, but she's gonna show you.
I'm gonna, the lessons that we have here, or whatever, if you want them off our flash drive, and that way,
Dr. West,
you wanna share whatever we have, just
The other thing I think, okay. Are you, sorry, what are you doing today?
we're gonna be here after lunch some, or?
FaceTime.
You wanna go talk after lunch?
I got to.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you want those stacked up and give to everyone, or want to talk
I'm not
about it, or whatever you want.
executive
I
session.
think, you know,
So
we're gonna
give it to them and talk to them a little bit about it. But after that.
So I'm taking another.
Regular something, just kind of.
Okay.
Michael, can you just say, okay,
I need to show you where to find it.
Oh, okay.
You know,
like, does he do walkthroughs, is that how he does it?
probably would be able to find it, there's lots of stuff on it.
Well, you know what, this is, Alicia's computer, but what if we have lunch and I'll plug in hers
when I was
I like
Or just, yeah, or we can go wherever your computer is later, I mean,
Okay.
And you
that can be
can.
pulled out as a math lesson, you know, I can talk or whatever.
Okay.
handle that alone.
I'm not gonna make it worse. Laura has hers, and I have mine, and I take hers, and those other. I know that. I looked at all my stuff.
Yeah, take what you need.
And I don't see it up for somebody. I feel like that's what I'm not gonna make it worse.
Long days.
Are they gonna go in that room?
And then, breaking up the block, that was for him.
Oh, yeah, and that's a money thing. Oh, they don't do a block.
Because they were there yesterday.
Okay.
So now what is, you know, I just.
I feel better now that I have a copy of it.
No, it will not. It's a culminating assessment. So you know all those things and you can answer this question. That's a great, I'll have to, I was thinking about making a copy of that tape and talk about it. So it went in there anyway.
Well, you can pay.
But nothing specifically says, okay, they're gonna learn this.
That often, we're, that's why, you know, we're kind of building this next year.
She did, what was that left?
I wanted to make sure that I'm saying, but I know exactly
Radiation.
I don't know why.
Darn, you figured it
I
out.
don't know why. Okay.
Soil.
That's important.
And then,
I'm sorry?
I can't remember everything.
It's important for you to be a science
She was doing
teacher.
that, and then she was
Well, I
making
am a journalist, so.
Wasn't it? And then
Now we're gonna actually make you know some stuff.
Another thing is, you know, some of those kids, like, we're not catching like some of the bubble kids to where that, you know, are one above or one below, to where, you know, some of their parents are like, you know, my kid could benefit from extra math class, you know. Anyway, so it's like,
Every kid can benefit.
yeah. Well, you know, the ones
If
that.
it's done well, though, I mean.
Right,
and,
exactly.
You know, you've seen teachers,
Exactly.
smaller class periods and they don't make efficient use of the time.
You're
It's not,
very true.
That's
it's
why,
either wasted or it's not
Well,
good
and that's the
instruction.
thing is, you know, and, I mean, not to harp on Kelly at all, I mean, but I should have stepped in more so with her math lab classes, because I really was thinking that they should have helped scores a little bit. But, you know, on a test,
Yeah,
they
because
could
she
have,
was
or
pretty
whatever.
much leaving them alone. There was no active teaching going on with her. And
Yeah.
I
then
tried
they
to work with Toby, but that was,
lost all.
I wouldn't say lost, but he was.
Well, that's the thing, we're the type to where if we're doing something wrong, tell us, we wanna fix it. You know we do stuff right, tell us what we're doing wrong, and we'll make it better. And even when Dr. West and Dr. Barney come in, we like for them to come in the morning, because if they come in for a second period and I can fix things for third period,